Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Attila Mong. I'm a Europe representative for the Committee to Protect Journalists and International Press Freedom Organization based in New York. And I'm here to introduce to you Szabolcs Panyi, a Hungarian journalist who will receive the Free Media Award for his unique and relentless investigative journalism. Szabolcs works as a journalist for Direct36, an investigative journalism platform in Budapest. He is also the editor for V-Square, a cross-border investigative journalism platform which brings together independent journalists from the so-called V4 countries, Visegrad countries, Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, and Hungary. His journalism is always precise, knowledgeable, and up to the highest ethical and professional standards. The topics Szabolcs covers are in the intersection of corruption, national security, and foreign policy. Importantly, lately his focus has been the most pressing geostrategic issue Hungary and Central European countries are facing, whether they continue their path towards European democratic and human rights values, or they move closer to the authoritarianism promoted by Russia and China. Russian and Chinese influence has been on the rise in the region. Szabolcs's reporting has helped us better understand what's at stake. Just a few examples. This year, he has drawn attention to Russian and Hungarian meddling in Slovak politics, just before the presidential election. Last year, he conducted a collaborative investigation about how Russian diplomats and diplomatic services conduct pure espionage in Europe. In 2022, Szabolcs was responsible for a report on how Russian intelligence services are infiltrating the IT networks of the Hungarian Foreign Ministry, and how the government had tried to keep all this in secret. Szabolcs always covers topics that authorities would prefer to hide. Because of his reporting, he is often the target of Hungarian authorities and government-controlled media. They use methods straight out of Putin's playbook to threaten and intimidate him. They accuse him of lying. They attack his character, saying that he is betraying his own country. They threaten and retaliate against his sources, who dare to speak the truth, who dare to speak with him. And they also went as far as using abusive cyber surveillance against him, the Pegasus spyware, which breached his private life, his privacy, and the confidentiality of his sources. Against all odds, Szabolcs continues his reporting. So as a journalist and a Hungarian myself, I feel honored to hand over this prize to Szabolcs Panyi.
Dear colleagues, guests, friends, representatives of the Friedord Foundation and Zeitstiftung Bucerius, I'm very grateful to receive this award, and I especially want to thank you, Attila, for this very moving introduction. I was extremely surprised when I got an email that I received this award, because I was well aware of this very prestigious Free Media Award, but I believe it goes to non-European countries. And when I was told that that's not the case anymore, the honor was mixed with a feeling of shock that this was an institutional recognition of the downward spiral that we've been experiencing in Hungary in this past 15 years. Now, I myself, I became I would say, proper journalist 10 years ago in 2014. And just to let you know, especially the Norwegians in this room, that this downward spiral actually became much worse 10 years ago in 2014, when the EEA and Norway grant funds that were distributed by 3 Hungarian NGOs, they had their offices raided by the Hungarian police. That already happened 10 years ago. That's when the regime in Hungary started basically accusing independent journalists and NGOs as being foreign agents. To my colleagues from Eastern Europe, from Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Russia, and Belarus, I think that the label foreign agent is quite familiar to your ears. Now, back in those days in Hungary, it was still something we didn't fully understand what it is and where we are going. Then in subsequent years, in 2015, 2016, not just those NGOs that received money from Norway, but also those who were receiving money, for example, funding and support from the Open Society Foundations, became stigmatized as agents of George Soros. And these days, we're mostly being accused of being the agents of the United States. So why is this so familiar to all our ears? That's exactly because 10 years ago, not only these attacks against us started, but that was exactly the year 2014, when the regime in Hungary decided to tie the country's future to Russia, to the Kremlin. That's when the Hungarian government decided to enter business deals over gas, oil, and nuclear energy to Russia. And that's exactly when I started investigating what is behind these business deals. And it turns out that Russia has been, to a large extent, infiltrated the Hungarian state. It captured the Hungarian ruling elite, and in return, the Hungarian regime, for obvious reasons, lets Russian intelligence operatives roam free in my country, and basically gives up the country's sovereignty. And when you see the news about another sanctions package that the EU is about to accept, there's always additional news that the government of Hungary is trying to block, veto, or water down support for Ukraine. And even when it comes to, for example, EU statements acknowledging support to exiled Russian, Belarusian journalists or to independent media, the latest crackdown in Russia against journalists, it's always the Hungarian government that is trying to veto, block, or water down these statements. In this past 10 years, I've been trying to investigate the root causes of why my country, the leadership of the country, acts this way. And this is what brought small trouble to me when I was meeting with a fellow journalist back in 2019, April. That was the first time when a spyware called Pegasus started operating on my phone. We were discussing with this journalist the same topic that we were both working on. It was basically a Kremlin influence operation and a Kremlin financial operation that was going on in Hungary. And when we were discussing what we learned about why the Hungarian government is so welcoming to such operations, that's when, very ironically, it was not Russia but it was the Hungarian government who was surveilling me. I was surveilled with the so-called Pegasus spyware for 7 months, but it was not just me. A colleague of mine, András Szabó, working also for Director 6, had the same spyware on his phone. He was mostly working on stories related to Russian nuclear deals. 5 other journalists and reporters that we managed to identify who were surveilled between 2019 and 2021, and also 3 media company owners who own media critical to the government of Prime Minister Viktor Orbán. Again, I'm still a little shocked that I'm in such a great company with such brave colleagues who face completely different risks and threats as I do. Coming from Hungary, still an EU member state, and hopefully it will remain that way, the threats that we're facing are more sophisticated. I would not dare to compare it to what brave colleagues from Ukraine, for example, are enduring. But this award is a clear recognition that my country is not on a good path, and that Central Europe as a whole has become very fragile when it comes to human rights, press freedom. And again, I would like to thank you all. I'm very honored to receive this award. It gives me some extra motivation boost to continue what I'm doing. And as the colleague said, I would also like to ask you to stand with Ukraine, give support to Ukraine, and Slava Ukraini. Thank you very much.